Hello everybody, it's Tim once again here, another movie review. This time I'm going to do a review for the movie Cloverfield Paradox. I decided to do a review for the movie Cloverfield Paradox because I did the other two Cloverfield films. You can watch my reviews for those if you kind of want my ideas on those, but if you just want kind of a quick idea about how I feel about those films. First Cloverfield I think is like a great found footage, like Godzilla monster flick. I'd give it a 4 out of 4. The second one, 10 Cloverfield Lane, I'd give it a 3 out of 4. I like the film really a lot for all those, like, it's more like a psychological horror film for the most part. Till you get to the ending, I think the ending, like alien fight that kind of shows up at the end, kind of decreases the value of the film a little bit because it starts to feel more like a big Independence Day blockbuster or something at the end. It doesn't really fit the tone and feel of the movie up until then, or the mood. So I'd give it like a 3 out of 4. Still a solid, good flick. 10 Cloverfield Lane is. I enjoy it. This film, I'll just go ahead and give my rating right off the bat. A lot of people say that this film sucks. I personally didn't think it sucked, but it is easily the weakest of the three. I agree with the other side of the people who say that this film doesn't really suck, it's just kind of okay. Like, for my rating for this film, I go from 1 to 4 stars. I'd give it a solid 2 out of 4. I think it's just like an okay Cloverfield movie. Like, in terms of like being in the Cloverfield series, I'd give this like a 2, an okay movie. If you're a fan of like the Cloverfield movies, and these movies are pretty much anthology movies, this film does like come up with a way to connect them if you want to. But it's still a standalone movie, so I'd still give it a 2 out of 4. It's okay. Pretty much you get with this movie is that the world is having like an energy crisis and everything's going crazy on planet Earth. So as people like go up to the space station, none of the characters really get any character development except for like the main girl, this black chick who's like pretty hot. She's the only one that really gets any character development. You get to know about her family that died or whatever because she was like still in power or something like that, and it caused an explosion or whatever. Later on, well, I'll get to that in a second. But they got like this particle device or whatever that they want to activate that's supposed to fix the energy crisis. But it causes like this movie, what I'm trying to say is this movie goes by like the sci-fi rule of like different dimensions and parallel Earths and everything. And but by activating this device, it causes like a total crisis and that does a ripple effect that affects all the different dimensions and parallel Earths. That causes creatures from like different dimensions to like pop up on different versions of Earths in different parallel worlds, and just like messes up different versions of Earths in different parallel worlds. So that's supposed to explain like what happened with like the first Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane. That's supposed to explain why those creatures and stuff showed up there, and why those incidents kind of happened, really. So they activate the device, but they end up getting like transported to another dimension. I only recognize like really one actor here, the one or two. One of the dudes who plays in the movie is the guy who played like Baron Zemo or whatever, the bad guy in Captain America: Civil War. His acting is actually pretty weak here. His character's just kind of passable. The guy who played like the captain of the ship, just he ends up like sacrificing himself to like try to fix part of the ship after an explosion. His acting was good. He was fine. I didn't mind him. I kind of like this character because he does the soul sacrifice thing eventually, but he doesn't really stick around long enough to leave much of a big impression. Back on Earth, you got like the girl's like boyfriend or whatever, the main character's boyfriend, who was like, after they do the device thing, that causes destruction on the planet, and you don't know why, but you can see like in the shadow there's like this big creature going around destroying everything. It kind of, you see the reflection of its shadow, and it looks like it's walking similar to the Cloverfield monster from the first movie. So you get the idea. That, wait a minute, is it like the Cloverfield monster? You know, if you've paid attention to the first movie or the series, but you don't actually see it at first. So it's causing destruction on Earth, and like her boyfriend is there, and he ends up saving this little girl. The Earth stuff is kind of interesting, but it really doesn't really go anywhere. It could have just been kind of took out, and you could just, and there's like a twist surprise last shot of the movie. They could have still like had that without having the Earth stuff. Ultimately, the Earth stuff's just kind of useless because it doesn't really go anywhere. Because you get like her boyfriend saving this little girl, and then he just goes and hides in a bunker for the rest of it, and that's it. He pops up at the end though for like one brief second where his acting gets really over the top, where he's like talking on a phone or whatever because his girlfriend has made it back. And she's coming back to Earth along with the Baron Zemo dude, and he's like, tell him not to come back, like really loud over and over. It's kind of like the ending of Halloween 3, if you've ever seen it, where the Tom Atkins is like, shut it off. It's just really over the top, but it kind of worked in Halloween 3, at least better than it did here. But yeah, they do the device thing, and it transports them as well to a parallel dimension with a parallel Earth, and they end up causing like a woman who was actually who's in her Earth. They were doing the same kind of space station particle experiment to try to solve the energy problem that these people are doing, and she accidentally gets transported into their ship, and so eventually she tries to like kill them all so she can take the ship and use it to save her planet, because her ship was, well, destroyed and I guess washed up in the sea. We see it in news footage when they try to like link to Earth, and then they realize, wait, this isn't our Earth. So she tries to like kill everybody. Interesting. Some of the stuff in the movie, like writing wise, doesn't really make sense even from like a scientific level. It's kind of like what you get in like movies where they try to like go super sci-fi, but you wind up being like gobbledygook. Like this dude's arm gets cut off and it starts like acting on its own and doing stuff. And the explanation they try to give is like, well, it's the particle thing. It makes our particles act on their own or some shit. It doesn't really make any sense. But yeah, the dude's like arm is like acting on its own, and this other guy, he's like his body like gets fused with worms that are on the space station, and for some reason, and he ends up like throwing them all up everywhere and dies. It's just random, and he starts acting like a paranoid psychopath and talking to himself. It doesn't really make much sense. Some things here kind of don't make sense, but you get the basic idea of what they're doing with the story. Pretty much these people have caused pretty much in all these alternate Earths. They're doing this. They're having the same energy crisis problem, and they're doing the space station thing like these people are doing, and it's just causing a massive ripple effect through space and time. That's just affecting different periods of Earth or different alternate Earths by causing creatures to just appear from other dimensions and stuff, and it's affecting like Earth in like different time periods as well, like causing like random creatures to appear in like different time periods of Earth. So it's just like it's pretty much destroyed everything. So you get to the end of the movie, and the main girl and the Baron Zemo dude are like the only one that's left. Even though he gets shot twice in the chest by the crazy girl who's trying to steal the space station, he somehow survives. The main girl ends up killing her by like shooting the glass behind her and causing her to like get flung out of the spaceship. Kind of a cool scene. But we get to the end, and there are only two left. They're heading back to Earth, and they're flying through the clouds, getting ready to land on Earth. And all at once, after the guys keep saying, "Tell them to come back," it skips to the next scene, and after their little escape pod is like flew through the clouds heading to Earth, you get like this big monster that raises up through the clouds and like looks around, looks at the screen, and roars. And the monster's design is absolutely identical to the Cloverfield monster from the first movie. Like the only difference is it looks bigger and a little bit older, so maybe they're trying to say that the Cloverfield monster from part 1 was like a baby, but this monster looks exactly the same. Now I know they're doing a straight sequel to the original Cloverfield for the next Cloverfield movie, and maybe they will ignore the mythology brought up here about the whole, like, these people are responsible for the Cloverfield monster appearing because they've disrupted space and time. Maybe they'll ignore that and just do like a whole different mythology since it's going to be a straight sequel. I don't know until the movie comes out, but in terms of this is pretty much what they're trying to say, that these people are the cause of the Cloverfield monster and whatever the hell happened in 10 Cloverfield Lane. But all it was kind of cool seeing the Cloverfield monster again at the end. And it is the same exact monster. It's the total same design. The only difference is it's bigger and looks older. But all in all, I'd give this a 2 out of 4. It's an okay flick. You're not. I would say if you're a fan, watch it at least once to see what you think. If you're a fan of the series, it's not really worth going out of your way to watch though, unless you're like a fan of the series. Like if you only enjoyed the first Cloverfield movie and didn't really care about 10 Cloverfield Lane, there's really no reason to watch this one. But if you like the first two, both of them, then I would say get this one a try. Pretty much this is an anthology series as a whole, as a series. I'd give it like a 3 out of 4. It's been a good saga so far, but it is an anthology series. These don't really connect. This movie does kind of connect them, but at the same time, those other two movies still work perfectly as standalones, and even this one as well. So yeah, all in all, that's my review for Cloverfield Paradox. Thank you guys for watching. Oh, and I do think this is the weakest directing of all three as well. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.